We live in this strange era of digital abundance. There are tools for absolutely everything. And when you look at the software landscape, especially internal tools, you notice something peculiar. A lot of it looks sleek. It has the right color palettes, the rounded corners. It looks like it belongs in a design portfolio. But then you try to actually use the thing,
Hmm.
and you realize it's just decoration.
It's the eye candy problem. That's exactly it. It's the difference between a dashboard that gets sold for a premium and one that just, sits there looking pretty and collecting digital dust.
Hmm.
Most dashboards fail not because the code is broken. It's because they don't actually solve a problem for the human being staring at the screen.
It makes you think about that tension between utility and aesthetics. We often conflate the two. We assume if it looks good, it must be good. But today, we're going to dismantle that idea. We're looking at a very specific, systematic approach to building professional AI dashboards. It's called the B.U.I.L.D framework. And what's interesting here is that we aren't just talking about writing code in the traditional sense. We're talking about using tools like Gemini 3 and Google Anti-Gravity to essentially orchestrate a system.
Right. It's less about being a bricklayer,
Yeah.
laying every single line of code by hand, and more about being the architect. The source material we're diving into today lays out this acronym, B-U-I-L-D. It stands for Business Purpose, Underlying Data, Information Hierarchy, Layout, and Dynamics. It's a roadmap for taking a vague idea and turning it into a really high-value product, even if you've never written a line of syntax in your life.
Let's start at the beginning then. The letter B, business purpose. It sounds a little corporate, almost too obvious. Have a purpose. But I suspect there's more to it.
Oh, there is so much more. The source emphasizes that the why has to be concrete before you touch a single tool. If you build without a goal, you're just burning compute credits. The core concept here is signal versus noise.
Signal versus noise. We hear that a lot. But what does it mean for a dashboard specifically?
In this context, it means every single chart, every number on that screen, must lead to a specific action. If a number drops, the user needs to know exactly what to do next. If the dashboard doesn't tell them that, it's just noise. It's vanity metrics.
Okay, but finding that signal is hard. People often don't know what they really want, so how do you find out what the user actually needs before you start building?
You have to become a detective.
Yeah.
You have to find their pain points, but not by guessing. The source suggests some really tactical ways to do this. You're looking for frustration. When people complain, they are basically asking for a solution they'd pay for.
Give me an example. Where are we looking for these complaints?
The guide mentions using something called Gummy Search to scan Reddit.
Reddit. Really? Isn't that mostly just people venting and arguing? It feels like a lot of noise to sift through.
It is venting, but that's the gold. You look for communities where your potential users hang out and you search for phrases like, "I'm tired of checking," or "How can I track?" You're literally looking for emotional friction.
So the complaint is a product request in disguise.
Precisely. And you can go further. You can use Answer the Public to see what people are typing into Google, or check Product Hunt to see what's standard. But here's the key part. Once you have all this raw data, you don't start coding. You use AI to synthesize it.
This is where Claude comes in, I assume. But why bring in an LLM so early?
Because you need a plan, a concrete plan. The strategy is to use Claude to generate a standard operating procedure, an SOP. So let's say you want to build a dashboard for a coffee shop chain. You don't just say, make a coffee dashboard. You tell Claude, I need to help owners decide when to restock oat versus almond milk based on waste. And you ask it to write out a detailed SOP with the key metrics and the decisions the owner has to make.
Pause there for a second. That feels counterintuitive. Usually, developers want to get their hands dirty immediately. They want to see an interface. You're saying the discipline here is to not code.
The discipline is to write a constitution for the software first.
Yeah.
If you ask an AI to just write code, it's going to guess at the business logic. It'll hallucinate features. But if you feed it an SOP, a text document explaining the logic in plain English, you're telling it what to think before you tell it how to code.
That's a huge shift in approach. So probing question for you then. Why write a text SOP before a single line of code?
Because ambiguity in the plan creates chaos in the code.
That makes a lot of sense. If you can't write it in English, you can't write it in Python. Okay, so we have a why. Now we move to the U in B.U.I.L.D, underlying data, the what. This is where we get into the actual tools.
Right. And for a lot of people, this is the scary part. They think, I don't know how to set up a server. But the source recommends this, fastest combination for beginners. It's a 3-part harmony. Google AI Studio, Google Anti-Gravity, and Supabase.
Can you break those down for us? I think people can get lost in the brand names.
For sure. Think of Google AI Studio as your design lab. It's where you experiment and set the vision. Then you have Google Anti-Gravity. That's the workspace. That's where the app actually lives and where you talk to the code. And finally, Supabase.
And Supabase is the database.
Think of it as the long-term memory or the vault. Gemini is the brain processing the request, but it needs to store facts somewhere permanent. That's Supabase. It's where the actual data lives.
That phrase, talk to the code, really highlights how much things have changed. It feels less like typing syntax and more like having a conversation.
It really is. The workflow starts in Google AI Studio. You upload that SOP text we just talked about. But here's a really cool trick the source mentions. You also upload visual inspiration.
Like screenshots.
Exactly. You go to Dribbble or Pinterest, find a dashboard that looks clean, pick one dark mode and one light mode, and you upload those images along with your text. You're telling the AI, I want the logic from this text, but I want it to look as professional as these images.
Is that cheating? Or does it just create a derivative product?
I wouldn't call it cloning. I'd call it setting a vocabulary. If you just say make a dashboard, you get a generic kind of 2015-looking website. By providing the screenshots, you're giving the AI a meta prompt. You're setting the aesthetic bar high. You're saying use Tailwind CSS, make it look like a $5,000 corporate tool.
I appreciate the vulnerability in the source material here. The author admits to wrestling with prompt drift. I still wrestle with prompt drift myself. Getting the AI to stay focused on the original plan is, it's hard without these strict guardrails.
Yeah, it's a real thing. It needs those guardrails. If you don't set the standard, the AI will get lazy. It's like a contractor. If you don't specify marble countertops, you're going to get laminate.
So to wrap up this section then, why upload screenshots of other people's designs?
It forces the AI to mimic a professional standard visually.
Okay, let's unpack the next letter. I, information hierarchy, the where. We have our data, we have our look, but how do we arrange it all? The source mentions something called the 10-second rule.
This is all about cognitive load. The 10-second rule just means a user should understand the state of their business within 10 seconds of looking at the screen. And to do that, you need a hero metric.
The hero metric, the one number that tells the whole story.
Exactly. For a SaaS company, maybe it's active users. For a coffee shop, it's daily sales. And its placement is non-negotiable. Top left corner.
Why so dogmatic about the top left? Couldn't I put it in the center and make it huge?
You could, but you'd be fighting biology. We're talking about the F pattern here.
The F pattern.
Yeah, it's a classic user experience concept. Eye tracking studies show that when we look at a screen, we don't really read it. We scan it. Our eyes instinctively anchor top left, scan across, then drop down and scan across again. It forms a rough F shape. If your most important number isn't in that anchor spot, you're making the user hunt for it.
That's fascinating. So good design is really just anticipating human efficiency.
Or laziness.
Yeah.
You want to reduce friction, you make that number the biggest text on the screen.
Right.
Then you group related data together. The guide suggests using Google Anti-Gravity's planning mode here. You can actually ask the AI, based on design best practices, how should I order these 5 metrics before you change any code?
That's a really smart use of the tool. You're treating the AI as a consultant.
And it usually gives pretty good advice because it's ingested millions of design patterns. It knows what good looks like.
So to pin this down, why does the top left corner matter so much?
It's biological. That is where the human eye naturally lands first.
It's biological, unavoidable. And speaking of things that are unavoidable.
Sponsor.
Okay, we're back, deep diving into the B.U.I.L.D framework. We've covered business purpose, underlying data, and information hierarchy. Now we're on to L layout, the how.
And this section introduces a concept I absolutely love, the museum principle.
The museum principle, let me guess, the dashboard should be a work of art.
Actually, the total opposite. Think about a modern art museum. What do the walls look like?
White, plain, empty.
Exactly. They're invisible.
Yeah.
Why? So you only look at the art. In a dashboard, the art is the data. The design, the containers, the background should be the museum walls. If a user is noticing your cool gradient menu, you've probably failed. Good design should be invisible.
That's a fantastic analogy. The interface should just get out of the way, but that's hard to do, isn't it? We have a tendency to want to fill empty space.
We do. We want to clutter it. And the biggest offender is usually the sidebar. The source compares it to a steering wheel. If you have 50 buttons on a steering wheel, the driver's going to crash.
Cognitive overload again.
Right. The rule here is strict. Keep the sidebar to 5 to 7 items max. Dashboard, analytics, customer settings, help. That's it. If you have more, nest them.
It's about subtraction, not addition.
And here's another great way to use AI that I hadn't thought of. You can run an AI audit. You literally prompt the AI to act as a senior UI/UX designer. You ask it to critique your work. You say, look at this code. Suggest items to remove to reduce clutter.
That's brilliant. You're role-playing with the model. Usually you'd have to hire someone to get that kind of feedback.
It works so well. It catches things you miss because you've been staring at the screen for 6 hours. It helps you get that expensive look without the agency price tag.
So what is the ultimate test of a good layout?
If the user doesn't notice the design, you succeeded.
That brings us to the final letter, D-Dynamics, the feel. And honestly, this is where so many tools fall apart. They look fine, but they feel dead.
Dead is the perfect word. Silence creates distrust.
Explain that. Why does silence create distrust in software?
Well, imagine we're having a conversation. I say something, and you just stare at me stone-faced for 3 seconds.
It's awkward. I'd think you didn't hear me, or you're angry or something.
Exactly. Software is a conversation. If you click a button and nothing happens, you panic. You think, did it work? Did I break it? Ugh. The dashboard needs to feel alive.
So how do we manufacture that life?
Visual feedback. It's the micro-interactions. Hover effects. When your mouse goes over a button, it should change colors slightly to say, I see you.
Oh.
Loading states never show a blank screen. Show a spinner so the user knows thinking is happening. Success messages. It all ends up.
It's the software nodding back at you.
Yes. And this is also where we connect to the real world. We move from fake placeholder numbers to real API data using Supabase.
This is the part that always feels like magic to me.
Oh, it's a total moment of wonder. Whoa. Imagine just handing the AI an AP and watching it wire up the entire database instantly. It used to take days of writing fed requests and error handling. Now it's just connected.
But once it's connected, it has to be fast, right?
That's the snappy test.
Yeah.
Page transitions must be smooth. Buttons must react instantly. If it feels sluggish, people subconsciously assume the data is unreliable. It's irrational, but it's human nature.
So why do things like hover effects and spinners really matter?
Responsiveness builds psychological trust that the data is accurate.
So let's zoom out. We've walked through the whole framework, B.U.I.L.D. Let's do a rapid-fire recap.
Okay, let's hit it. B, business purpose. Solve a real problem with an SOP.
U, underlying data. Connect clean data with the right stack.
I, information hierarchy. Spotlight that hero metric, top left.
L, layout. The museum principle. Keep it invisible.
D, dynamics. Make it feel alive to build trust.
It's a powerful framework, and what I find most compelling here is the philosophical shift it implies. It really emphasizes that you, the listener, you're no longer just a viewer of technology, you are a creator.
That's the big shift. We're moving away from an era where you had to spend years learning to code syntax. We are moving toward an era where you need to learn to define the problem. The AI handles the how, the syntax, the database queries, but you have to master the why. You're the director.
It's a call to action, really. Don't worry about perfection. The barrier to entry has never been lower.
Exactly. Open anti-gravity. Build one screen, just one. Do it today. The best way to learn this isn't to listen to us talk about it, but to actually struggle through that first prompt.
I think that's the perfect place to leave it. Go build something, see what happens. Thanks for diving in with us.
Always a pleasure.